all so much for coming out today for this screening with Everyone's Obsession, Presumed Innocent. I can't really see, but just out of curiosity, who's seen this for the first time today? Wow, oh my God, you're in for such a treat. I will work really hard not to spoil anything. Please join me in welcoming some of the guests who brought this twisty and twisted show to life. We have director and executive producer, Greg Yaitanes. Director and executive producer, Anne Sewitsky. The real hero of actors, casting director, Jeanie Bacharach. Also joining us is actor O.T. Fagbenle. Actor Bill Camp. Actor Peter Sarsgaard. And oh my, this man has so many jobs. He is the showrunner, writer, executive producer. Please welcome David E. Kelley. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for, even as someone who is familiar with this property, a very surprising and fascinating series. Whenever I have people as accomplished as any of you, I actually love to go back to the beginning and just sort of ask, what was your first job in the entertainment business? You know, did you start as an intern somewhere? Were you a PA on someone's set? When was the first time you felt you could call yourself an actor? And let's start with Greg.
It was actually a few things at the same time. I was, my first professional directing job was reenactments for America's Most Wanted.
No way!
That was back in the early 90s, and then at the same time, I was also a visual consultant for Diane Keefe, so I would help her take her, all the photographs and books that she had and try to help translate them into a visual language.
Wow.
Two of her films, Struck Heroes and Hanging Up back in the day, so I had those. I would do that sort of between my other things and eventually led to episodic. In fact, one of my first opportunities to shadow another director on a show was on The Practice.
You're kidding! You must have made a good impression.
It's come full circle.
I'm going to badger you later about these reenactments because I really want to know how you direct actors in those. And what about for you?
My first job as director. I think that was doing a short movie about 10-year-old girls and orgasms. Which was a short movie for the children's section in Berlin. It was actually a grown-up movie, but it won in Berlin, and then I went on to do a family show where I was pushing some cows around in northern Norway, and then that's where it kind of started.
What's the short film called?
Oh my God.
Of course.
Yes, yeah. I remember it was kind of it was a full packed, probably 2,000 people in the audience, children and grown-ups, and it was simultaneously subtitled, or what do you call it in English?
Yeah.
By a German man saying, "Oh yeah, ich komme." It was I'm sorry, I didn't know I was going to take it.
Jeanie, what about for you?
I started out as an actor.
Wow, okay.
In New York, and quickly realized I didn't think I was going to be able to handle the waiting for someone else to make a decision about me. So I was lucky enough to do a casting internship at an off-Broadway theater, Playwrights Horizons.
Wow, that's fantastic. That doesn't surprise me you have an acting background because you have such a good way with actors and you must have a lot of empathy for them on the other side of things.
I'd like to think it helps.
Yeah, because you've been on that other side.
Oh yeah.
OT for you?
I think when I graduated drama school, I think the first thing I did was a Lorraine Hansberry play called LeBlanc, and it was a tiny, small theatre in Manchester in England, and I had a tiny part, and I was the happiest guy in the world to be working as an actor.
Wow. Bill, for you?
My first professional job, I was 10, and I played the boy in Waiting for Godot.
Really?
And I had no clue what was going on. And most of my lines were, "Yes, sir," "No, sir," "I don't know, sir." And I would often screw them up and get them out of order because I had no idea. I was so lost in that environment. But my first real professional job out of school was Shakespeare in the Park, 12th Night,
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
with David's wife.
You're kidding. Oh,
Michelle was in it.
that's
It was
incredible.
1989. Yeah.
Who did you play?
I played the waiter.
Of course, the iconic waiter.
Right. Most of the kids that were, or young people that were graduating from the schools in the area and such, that would get cast as supernumeraries
Yeah.
in those productions. And I was actually really fortunate to play a waiter because it was set in Monaco and mainly in this little dive, and I got to create this guy, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
With Gregory Hines and John Amos and Fisher Stevens and just the cast, you know, that Michelle, Jeff Goldblum. It was very exciting and very fun. Like some brilliant people around to steal from.
You said you didn't really understand Godot when you were 10. Do you understand it now? Because I'm still lost, if I'm being honest.
Not really. I'm gonna go see the new production that's happening soon.
The Keanu Reeves one?
Maybe they'll enlighten me.
Super excited for that. Peter, for you?
I don't know if you're meant to understand it. Maybe that's the problem. Horton Foote cast me in this play, Laura Dennis. So he gave me my first job, and I did that at Signature Theater back when it was on Bond Street. It's now on Broadway. And then Tim Robbins saw me in that play and cast me in Dead Man Walking, which was I played the boy who was murdered in that movie, which was a great experience because Tim wanted a ghost thing, which he used barely in the movie, but it made it so I had to go to set every day.
Oh, nice.
And I got to watch very good actors be very good.
And you know, I'm just saying, like, those are all great first jobs, but like most people do like a McDonald's commercial. Y'all are kind of like overachievers. David, what about for you? You have a very unusual path, I know.
I was just a lowly lawyer in Boston, and I liked to write and penned a script, and it found its way into Stephen Bochco's hands as he was developing LA Law. Came out for a meeting with him and never went back.
Wow. What was the script? If it's, oh, okay.
It was called From the Hip. It was
I love
not
it.
good. Yeah, it was pretty bad.
No, this is great.
Looking back at it, there was something positive in it because I remember the script was done and I was sat down by the studio exec and the director and said, we're going to make some changes here and there and you're going to have to trust us. We've been in this business a long time and you haven't, so we know how to make scenes breathe, we know how to cultivate character, you're just going to have to trust us. And I went to the screening and I said, okay, experience is not necessary. And it's good to have it,
Yeah.
but I actually came out of that screening with more conviction to trust my own creative instincts. And that and having Stephen Bochco as a mentor
Yes.
turned out to be a good combination.
I've actually been thinking about From the Hip because I think it's due for a reboot. Maybe if you want another shot at it.
And you know, one time at LA Law, it was a particularly stressful week, season 3 or something, and my assistant came in and said, yeah, I booked a masseuse for you. You just need to sort of relax and lighten up. And they put the table in my office, and in came the masseuse and started talking, and he said, yeah, you're really tight, you're really tight. And I said, yeah, it's been tough. I'm trying to crack this story in television subject. He says, you know, yeah, television shows, they're not very good, so you gotta be, you know, forgive yourself a little bit. So, okay, just rub. but I don't mean to offend you, because movies can be worse. Did you ever see this one with Judd Apatow called From the Hip?
No.
So he rubbed.
And just to clarify, Judd Nelson, not Judd Apatow. But I would love to see
No,
that.
Judd should have, if he had written it, would have been ahead.
Well, again, look how far you've all come. Congratulations again on a series that kept surprising me. I'm sort of curious how familiar you were with either the book or the 1990 film adaptation coming into this project, and you know, why now was the perfect time to tell this story?
Yeah, I was very familiar with the book. In fact, the genesis of this was COVID. I got a call, I think, from my agent at the time that said, everyone's looking for something that can be shot in a contained way, and courtroom thrillers are what we're being asked for. Is there any particular piece of IP that would appeal to you that if you could adapt for a courtroom case? And I didn't even hesitate, because I had read the book, I had seen the movie, I loved both. I felt with a limited series, you could explore character beyond what the movie is allowed to do in 2.5 hours. So I'm a huge Scott Turow fan, kind of a patsy for anything he writes. So I said, yeah, presumed innocent, and that was the beginning. And J.J. Abrams' company had it, and J.J. and I have known each other forever, so it was a pretty fast track once we got going.
And for you and the directors, I'm sort of curious if you can talk about sort of modernizing the story, because it is a classic legal thriller, but it's a real fresh take to the genre. How did you sort of work to ensure it still felt so timely and relevant? There's a courtroom scene, I believe, Greg, that you shot where you use handheld, and I don't think I've ever seen that before in a courtroom.
Yeah, I had a bulk of the courtroom episodes, and it was Doug Emmett and I, director of photography, were trying to, we watched a lot of courtroom sequences, some of the great ones, anywhere from Orson Welles to Paul Newman, some of the great closing statements and opening statements and such. And so we wanted to evolve the look with every episode. And so at various times, it felt destabilizing and the right move to do it. It was a style that Anne had introduced in the first couple of episodes, so it was nice to kind of carry that in, but also choose when we were going to do it strategically.
No, I remember the first time it happened, people were like, you can't do that. It's always a fixed
freeing it up
camera.
was important. It was important to again, having, the first, episode of TV I ever saw being shot was a courtroom drama, and it was, which was on the practice, so it was interesting to see the use of multi-cameras and to decide how to do it. Also to learn that, someone like Jake, interestingly, loves to act only one camera. So the courtroom provided us the opportunity to put the cameras on other people or sometimes simultaneously and be able to get those looks and moments happening at the exact same time, which was great.
I would say I didn't know anything about the American courtroom system, so I knew kind of court, the legal system from actually TV. So I had to go down to LA court, do my research, and what I saw and found was that way of the authenticity that I want to bring into it. So I think we worked a lot with that, both elevating the characters and going kind of deeper into them. It's all about what's in between the moments. David writes such fantastic plots and characters, and for me to go into it and just kind of build onto that, and studying reality and studying human reality. I think the core of this show was the family and what's between all those characters, and also in the courtroom, what's between all the people in the courtroom. So I think getting that texture was really important for telling this story, making it relatable.
In that LA courtroom, I mean, were you, because whenever I've been on jury duty or anything, it's so boring. Were there things that you helped pick up?
I found it so fascinating.
Really?
I found it so, but I was kind of sucking in everything.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting that, like, in one room there was a Harvey Weinstein court case. In this room next door there was kind of a low, very small court case. There were people walking around the corridor without shoes. There were papers. There was mess. There was talking. It wasn't a silent courtroom that I had seen before. It was full of life and full of flaws and full of paper writing, which I followed court cases in Norway, and it's all computers, but here was kind of, okay, it was a talk between the judge and one of the lawyers saying, so can we do our next session next Wednesday at 12 o'clock? And then they put up their calendars. Yeah, I can do it 12:30. Okay, I was like, wow, does that happen? yeah, so there was kind of a lot of things that I wanted to put into this, and also just how you see people being brought into court,
Yep.
people in arraignment, people in, yeah, which was both sad and shocking and good and interesting and yeah.
Well, you got a better case than I did, I think, because mine was shoplifting. And David, for you, what were some of the, the themes and the ideas you wanted to explore in taking this book that was written quite a while ago, but modernizing it?
Well, honestly, my first goal was not to screw it up.
Yeah.
I really did love the book.
Yeah.
And I thought the movie was excellent as well. I think the opportunity that the series provided is to go into some of the other characters. Rusty obviously was front and center in the whole movie, but the other characters, Tommy Molto and De La Guardia and Barbara and Raymond Horgan, those were all delicious characters, and the relational equations of those characters are fascinating in the book. The series allowed us the opportunity to delve into them, and that's what really the fun was.
Absolutely, and this cast is so fantastic. I'm sort of interested for the actors. What interested you in coming on board this show? I mean, Peter, Tommy has this intense rivalry with Rusty. Was that fun to play, or is it awkward?
That was my brother-in-law.
I know.
Do you have a brother-in-law?
I technically do, but we don't speak.
I don't know. I actually remember telling Jake something like at the beginning, because he was talking to me about doing it.
Yeah.
And stuff. He called me, and I said, "Sounds like a good opportunity to like take a cast iron skillet, put it on the stove on high heat for a while, leave the room, go take a shower, come back, and then take a piece of butter, and that's you. And just drop that thing."
I mean, was there excitement about the idea of work? You've worked together before, but working together, but also...
I've worked with every member of my family, I think, including my mother-in-law. I think Jake is a fantastic actor, and so that's the most important thing to me. I guess if my brother-in-law were not a fantastic actor, I'd have to lie. But no, I knew what it would be, and that was a large part of the reason I was doing it. Also, obviously, because of the extremely talented people who were involved, including David, JJ, and I mean, this cast. One of the things about acting that they always concentrate on, was this person good or was that person good? When you walk onto set and you're playing the king, for example, and no one treats you like the king, you're not the king. The other actors help make you what you are. And it's, we talk about like, how important that is, having that relationship. It is literally, if they don't take the knee when you walk in, then you're not really the king. So I really enjoyed showing up and acting, I acted with these guys tons, and it was a joy. We would we enjoyed each other's acting a lot of the time. I remember watching him give, statement and going like, that's Bill Camp.
Do you still have moments like that? Because you've worked with everyone where you just like freeze up.
I love it when another actor brings it. It's wonderful. I've known Bill for a very long time. Obviously, he's an extraordinary actor, so it was fun.
Bill, say something nice about Peter now.
He's not my brother-in-law.
No, I won't put you
I
on the
love
spot.
Peter.
Yeah.
We've known each other for a very, very long time. And it's just a privilege to act with Peter and OT.
You were there when I met my wife, weren't you?
Yeah.
I think you might have given me your bedroom.
I think I did.
Wait, I'm so sorry. You're gonna have to back up on that. You can't drop that and
We
not
have a
elaborate.
deeper relationship than any of you know. Is it the same question you asked me?
No, I'm actually gonna ask you
Was
because...
I nice enough to Peter?
Because Raymond might be the only person who's like on Rusty's side for most of the series, and he has...
Is he?
Well, that's the thing. But he has this
Yes.
quiet strength that I just so many of your characters excel at. What were sort of the conversations regarding how he, you know, fits into the larger themes of the morality of this show, or lack thereof?
How does Raymond fit into
Yeah.
into the morality of it? I think that his morality is a struggle. It's a conflict, right? I mean, I think our brains take us one place and our hearts take us another, and you know, that's what Raymond is toiling with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and his legitimate respect and admiration and love for Rusty, and yet, you know, clearly in these nightmare sequences that we did, but even without them, that's part of Raymond.
Yes.
I think there is doubt. I think there is always that, because he's always, you know, they exist next to each other all the time.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of people who haven't seen the whole series, so I don't know if I should spoil anything, but can we address the nightmare sequences?
Yeah, sure. We decided to do that particular one. I think it's episode
3.
Is it 3? I can't remember which episode.
You'd know better than me.
I did the middle 5 episodes, so sometimes they blur as episode 5. Yeah, that particular nightmare sequence, but I had like a you know, really extremely detailed replica of Bill's head.
We just said his head explodes. Sorry.
And it was, you know, and then we built 2 heads so that we had a second take, and I think that head is in JJ's office. They offered to send it home with me, and I passed because I just didn't know how to explain it to my wife and where to put it and how we'd have it. But I think it's in JJ's office.
Wait, did you offer it to
Wait,
me?
I was offering that too.
Yeah, it went around.
You didn't want to keep your head?
Kidding me?
I think that would be amazing. Or you just want to be as far away from it
I
as
think my
possible.
wife and my son would want to look at it.
We had a lot of laughs during that day. That sequence was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We had a good time making it. And Bill was sort of game to, like, you know, to play it up. But we did it practically. We took a cue. We'd all pass around the clip from scanners and
Yes.
wanted to do it like real deal it and not just have it be CGI. So it was a real head stuff with gore. It was, you know, there was visqueen everywhere, blood went everywhere. So it was a blast.
See, now you're all going to keep watching, I know. Nico is so ambitious and also seems to have this grudge against Rusty. He feels, you know, different from some of the characters we've seen you play. Was that challenging to take on, or rewarding, or both?
Oh, I was really excited by it. I got the script and you know, David had written this character, which I think in lots of shows like this, you kind of get this kind of like box cutter, I don't know, mayor of Gotham type person who's just like, and in Nico, there was so many levels. There was his political maneuvering and him trying to kind of control this live wire and anyway, there's just so many levels to it. Also, I was really excited to have a go at it.
Yeah. It's so curious because, again, I want to talk about those antagonizing scenes. Do you guys have a way as actors to sort of check in with each other after you've just insulted and almost assaulted each other?
Someone else was asking me about that before. I was like, it's so fun. Like, we're like, it's really fun to kind of go, and especially, you know, I learned so much watching Peter work, but it's very unpredictable what he's going to do and what he's going to say, and so it's so exciting coming to set because you've already got great source material and you feel safe because you've got these incredible directors that are not going to let you go too crazy, and then you've got Peter.
Yeah.
What's he going to do today? And it leads to these just great unexpected ways. You read the scene, you have an idea of how it's going to work out, and then you work with him, and you're like, oh, it's something different and wonderful and exciting. So no, there's no rubs. Are you okay? Afterwards, we're like, it's just fun.
Yeah, we had a good time.
Yeah.
The cast was really deep on this, and so for Ann and I to show up every day and see the pairings on the call sheet of who was going to be working with who, like every time you were like, what are we going to get? It was so, I want to watch them act, like I want to watch them keep acting and do extra takes to see like where it's going to go. But every day you could pair up any like the first 9-10 people on the call sheet and you knew you were going to get something exciting.
Yeah, and I guess
That's a real testament to Jeanie. I just did another show.
Yeah.
There's also a very there's a lot of creative freedom in it. So we ended up adding, like, remember our conversation, he does hand cream. He does hand cream, he's vain, he loves to smell well. We use that a lot in different scenes.
Yeah. That says a lot about a character. I love that. And Jeanie, you have been responsible for assembling so many remarkable ensembles, from The Bear to Station 11, just to mention recent ones. This is a murderer's row of talent, including actors who aren't here, like Ruth Negga, obviously, and Jake Gyllenhaal, who's pretty good. What qualities were you looking for when assembling the cast to ensure that, in addition to just being great actors, they're all part of the same universe?
Good question. I mean, so much of it, to be honest, is luck. But I think having come from theater and just learning about actors, watching them on stage, and sort of understanding that actors have incredible wells of not only talent but humanity. That for me, I look at the actors' work, but I also try to get a sense of them as a person, and then so, to some extent, you're putting families together, and so I some of it's just sort of an innate sense of, and also just kind of people's backgrounds. I mean, these guys are all theater people. I mean,
I noticed that, yeah.
But same with, Jake and Ruth, I mean, that is what I gravitate towards. I mean, I think having come from that world, so those are always the actors that I'm drawn to. And I think there's something about people who go out on stage and do a show, 8 times a week and keep it real and keep it fresh. That's not nothing. And so I think it's trusting that those people who come from that background are going to be able to, work with different personalities, but show up on set and do something different and want to play and want to volley. So that's exciting.
For you, what was the most challenging role to cast? And it could be for any reason. Sometimes it's just scheduling.
I mean, the kids are always, tricky, and I think because when you're casting young people now, the world is so big, so fast, and kids are growing up so fast. So how do you find kids who, really feel like kids and not, already young adults? And I think for both of those kids, it was really important to feel like they were on these cusps, especially the son, to really be able to still look up to his dad, and for her to still believe in his innocence and be struggling with that as she's getting ready to also go out into the world, and where she's at in her relationship with her mother-daughter relationship. So I think finding kids who can still feel very genuine in this world is getting trickier and trickier.
Yeah.
Maya was hard to cast too. Remember that?
Who was?
Gabby Beans.
Gabby, yeah.
When we got to Gabby, it was obvious, but the role of Maya that Gabby played was a hard role to cast. Like, it needed to be a particular balance of servicing and handling a lot of exposition, and it was, we went through a lot of, I feel like I watched the most tape on actors for that role.
Also an amazing theater actress.
This show does such a good job of keeping us guessing right until the end, and I understand that included the cast to some degree. Again, without spoiling anything, you didn't tell anyone who the murderer was until the last second?
No, we really didn't have to, because the actors were asking them to play the truth of the scenes that they were in. It didn't necessarily involve having to know where it would end up. We also, at the very beginning of writing, I wasn't sure which direction we were.
Really?
We wanted to certainly declare the series out of the gate that we were going to take some departures from the book. So if you had read the book or you'd seen the movie, you wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable that you knew the ending. That said, we were open to the same ending at the beginning, but as we got into it, sometimes it's a very inexact process where the story declares to the writers where it wants to go and live, and this was such a case. It felt very organic to change the ending a little bit.
And actually, I'm glad, because as I was saying, it does what a true adaptation should do, which is, the spirits of the story. But
What was critical for us is I didn't want people to watch the series for the second time and then say, oh, they would have never behaved this way.
Mhm.
We didn't really want to ever be accused of putting a scene in there for the sole purpose of throwing the viewers off the plot. And it's a credit to their craft, because when I talked about finding the truth in all these things, they did that every
Yeah.
single day in every scene.
but for the actors, would you sort of badgering him, wanting to know if it was you or or who it was?
I knew in my heart it was not me.
I mean, again, do you think you would have played anything differently if it would have been the same, really. Oh, you know what? I'm going to get too close to spoilery territory. I'll back up. It's my bad. I'll just say it's a fantastic episode. At what point did you decide?
We were on episode 2 or 3.
Really, while you were writing it still? Oh, okay, so you knew, and then when did you all find out? Like when the show aired?
Yes.
Really? You didn't have
I did, you know, I asked a couple of times.
Yeah.
Sort of meekly. You know, I knew there was some intent in us not knowing, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of thought, you know, it'll be a surprise.
Yeah. And it wasn't a surprise?
Yeah, I didn't, you know, dig deep.
Yeah.
You know,
I knew Jake
when I
did
was
it.
done.
I was certain.
He's your brother-in-law, so.
Yeah, he obviously did it.
Did you have conversations about it? Like, you're clearly the killer.
No, I actually lived with him during part of filming this.
Really?
I don't think I ever discussed it with him. Yeah.
Was this therapeutic that you could like go fight, go head to head all day on stage and then come home?
We fight very comfortably without needing a. No, people who love each other are comfortable fighting with each other. It's only strangers that can't raise a voice.
Agreed. I'm so excited because I know there's going to be a season 2 of the show. It's an anthology, so it'll be a new cast, maybe new characters even. Is there anything you can tell us about what we can expect?
Not really, we're just getting into it. As you say, it's an anthology piece, so it'll be a new palette, new characters. The themes will probably be, have a commonality with season 1. Psychological suspense, fidelity, love, and betrayal, those principles will still be in play, but other than that, blank page.
And all shot in Norway.
I mean, speaking of great books, I know you're adapting Margot's Got Money Troubles for Apple TV Plus first, I believe, and then you'll get back to this?
Yes, we're actually 3/4 of the way through. That's all written, and we're almost, well, I think we're 2/3 through Margot, so.
Fantastic. Well, again, I want to congratulate you on a fantastic show. Please join us for a reception outside. Thank you for being a great audience.